How are y'all? It's kind of early this morning. I usually wake up around 12, so this is early for me a little bit, but I'm very happy to be here. I want to thank Mr. Bochin for giving me this opportunity and for my family and friends being here. It means the world to me. But before we would begin, I want to pray. So if everybody would bow their heads. Father, I thank you for this time, and God, I thank you for this day and for allowing me to be able to speak to your children and share my story, the story that you've given me, Father. And I pray that you would just use me today, God, that you would speak through me and that it wouldn't be my words, but that it would be your words through me. And Father, I pray that at least one person would leave here filled with strength to keep going forward. So God, I thank you and I love you, and I ask this in your son's name. Amen. So my story starts out pretty normal. You guys just met my dad. I'm a pastor's kid and a coach's kid, so I kind of get it on both sides of the coin. There's no room for me to make a mistake, literally. But I had a great childhood. I was saved at the age of 4 in my living room, watching Dora and eating Cheerios. That's where my relationship with Jesus first started. I knew God. I knew about him, but I never really had a true relationship with him for myself. I could go to church, I could tell you all the cliches, I could sing the songs, I could recite Bible verses like it was the back of my hand, but I didn't truly know the Lord. I want to share a verse with you that I read when I was studying yesterday. It really hit home with me. It's 1 John 1:6, and it says, "If we claim that we share life with him, but keep walking in darkness, we're only fooling ourselves and not living in the truth." And that was my story. Going into junior high, I began to search for my identity, and I used boys, and I had what I like to call cheerleader friends. So I was the goody two-shoes of the group. Everybody else would do what they wanted to do, but I was the one who, like I said, couldn't make a mistake. So when I would curse or call somebody a bad name, my friends would be like, "Oh yeah, Ashanti, good job, good job." And it was like, "You're applauding me? Okay." So that made me continue on in that path. But around the 8th grade, I actually started, diving into my relationship with Jesus and finding out who he was for myself. And I went to my first church camp the summer going into my freshman year, and my life was changed. I got saved, and, I actually started having a real intimate relationship with Jesus. I got back from camp, and the first semester of my freshman year was great. And then during that second semester, all hell broke loose. On February 26th, my dad was coming home from picking up some Mavericks tickets to go take some kids to see the game. My dad's worked with kids for most of his life. Kids are his heart. And in Diana, there's a little hill. And right at the edge of that hill is a driveway, and there was a red truck that was parked. And he could see Miss Deanna, but he couldn't see little Bella. She was 9 years old, and right as he was coming over that hill, at just the right time, she didn't look both ways, and she came out, and he hit her, and it killed her. And it crushed our family. My dad has always worked with kids, and, that's the call that God had placed on his life, and it's like, okay, God, for this to happen, what's the deal? And I didn't understand it, and it took a lot out of my family. And then literally a month and 2 days later, we get a call and my mom's diagnosed with stage 1 breast cancer. And it's like, okay, seriously? You didn't even give me 2 months to deal with that. I haven't even got over that. Come on. But we go through surgery and radiation for her, and I'm very proud to say that she beat cancer for 2 years now. So that was a real blessing. But we skip to October, and my dad gets this job in Houston. He's working at a school district with kids, and we were all very happy for him. He asked me, he was like, "Is that going to be too much for me to be gone?" And I was like, "No, it's fine, because, I'm the oldest, and I'm daddy's girl, so if I say yeah, he's going to stay home, and I can't do that." So he takes the job, and I go from seeing my dad every day. The longest I go without seeing him is maybe a day or two, to only seeing him on Saturdays. And that was hard for me. And in November, that was probably the worst month of my life. Anxiety and depression hit me hard, and to keep the panic attacks away, I would cut myself. and that lasted for a good while. I stopped in January, but I remember one day I was sitting in my room. I had a bottle of pills in one, a razor in the other, and I was like, I'm done. I can't, you know? It's like all of this pain that I'm feeling, I'm trying to mask it with cutting myself, but nothing's working, and I'm just done. And I was ready to end my life. But then hope came in, Jesus came in, and I got clean, but in May of last year, I started cutting myself again. And it seems like this cycle, you know, like you're good for a while and then you fall into the darkness, and you're good for a while and then you fall into the darkness. So the week before church camp, I gave God an ultimatum. I was like, either you change my life and something drastic happens, or I'm going to end it all. And if you know me, you know I'm not a serious person. I'm as goofy as all get out, but I don't think I've ever been more serious than when I said that. And that's sad. But I went to church camp, and a friend of mine, we kind of have similar stories. She cut herself before as well. And, you know, God's doing a lot at church camp. I'm having moments with him. She's having moments with him. And I remember she went into church camp with 158 scars on her body from cutting herself. It was awful. And we're in service one night, and, you know, God's just filled the room. And we look, and people are praying over her. And she starts screaming. She's like, my scars are gone. My scars are gone. And I was like, what? And she was like, look. And all of those scars are all over her body, gone. And you cannot attribute anything to that other than the power of God. So I go back to my room, and I'm in the room with one of my leaders, and we're sitting there talking, and I start bawling. And she's like, baby, what is wrong? And I was like, I don't know. And she was like, you want your scars gone too, huh? And I was like, yep. And then I start crying more. And she was like, you know, Ashanti, I can't tell you that your scars are going to go away, because I don't know. You know, God can do anything. We saw that tonight. But I will say that your scars are going to tell your story. So these scars and these scars right here, they tell my story. They are what I use to show how a broken 16-year-old girl can be transformed radically by the blood of Jesus if we let him use us. So I come back from camp. I'm filled with purpose. I'm filled with hope. I have more peace now, and everything's going good. And you know how you come back from church camp and you're on that 2-week camp high where you're on fire for God. Well, reality hit after that 2 weeks, and we realized our house had mold in it. I was like, okay, I had this coming. My dad had got really sick, you know. He was swelling everywhere. We had been to multiple doctors. Nobody could tell us what was going on. They said that they had never seen anything like it before. So we had to get rid of our house, and from July of 2019 to about October, we were homeless, going from hotel to hotel. When the money for a hotel ran out, we went from family's house to family's house. And I told my mom one day, I said, Mom, I can honestly say that at 16 years old, I would have never saw myself homeless, but here we are. But it was a hard time. I got really angry with God, and I was like, you know, God, when is enough enough? You say you're this good father, you say you're merciful, you say you love your children, but when do you get tired of seeing your children suffer? So I was angry with him, and I went buck wild. I started drinking, I started hanging out with the wrong people, because it was like, you know, I tried God. I tried going to church. I tried doing the right thing. We're in church every Sunday, every Wednesday. We're faithful. We pay our taxes. We pay our tithes. What is the deal? And it wasn't until I finally came towards those last months of us being homeless that I realized that this was just another part of my story. So as time went on, we got our new house. Things started looking up, and then my grandma got sick. And I'm Granny's girl. Big Mama, she was my everything. Sorry. I loved that woman so much. And, you know, as she started to get sick, it's like she's been strong my whole life. 2 years before she passed away, she was working, 93 years old, working hard. Didn't have to ask anybody for anything, could hold her own. And, she's sick and she's weak. And I didn't want the last time I saw her to be like that, so I couldn't go see her. And that is something that weighed heavily on me for a long time. But she passed away this year on February 6th, 5 months ago yesterday, actually. And I miss her a lot. And that took a lot out of me to see her go. But I wear this cross that she got me. And, I live my life in ways to please her. To know that she lived 95 amazing years. She loved, she lived, she had amazing children, and, she was the mother of a church. She was a godly woman. She was everything that I aspired to be. So I stand here and I tell my story to honor her with my life. So through all of these moments, the good and the bad, the one thing that I can say is that through every trial and through every tribulation, God was faithful, even when I couldn't see it, and even when I went my own way and I was angry with him and I didn't want anything to do with him. He was faithful and he never left. And just like the prodigal son, I came back and he had his arms stretched open wide for me, and that's what gave me strength to keep going. And that is what gives me strength to keep going every day, despite the hard times and the hell that I've been through. So if I had to leave you with anything today, the one thing that I do want to say is he will strengthen you and he will help you keep going another day. Just don't give up on him. And even if you do, it's okay, because he'll be right there waiting for you.